What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM, coming to you live from Site B at 8:33 in the morning at this, the 13th day of November 2023. The holiday rush has officially begun. I heard my first Christmas carol yesterday in the store, and that is my marker of when I think the holiday rush officially begins, is when I hear the first Christmas carol in a market. So yeah, as of yesterday. So all the sales and stuff. Speaking of sales, it's Monday, so it's time to take a look at all the tabletop role-playing game news. It's time to chart the course, pull out our maps, get our sextant, and take a look at the stories that are shaping the tabletop role-playing game news world for this week, as the one of the most peculiar years in a long time in the history of tabletop role-playing game kind of chugs towards an end. And of course, with 2024 and the 50th anniversary just around the corner, all eyes are on Wizards of the Coast and all the companies that are going to try and compete with Wizards of the Coast for your hard-earned tabletop role-playing game dollars in 2024, as the inevitable conversion to data on the internet happens, taking D&D and everything else digital. Oh no, they'll never do that. They'll never take D&D digital. It's not cost effective for them. They'll always make physical product. Well, sorry, nope. That if there was any, nope, sorry, no. So let's take a look at the other tabletop role-playing game news stories, because there's not a lot before we focus on the sadly number one story of the tabletop role-playing game community news, and that is sadly again from Wizards of the Coast. And what? Wizards of the Coast lied? I'll get to that in a second, because I hinted at it earlier today. And two, hey, the Q3 numbers are out, and Wizards of the Coast didn't tell anybody. All right, so first, non-tabletop, non-Wizards of the Coast news. There's a new 5e mega dungeon out that is called Vault of the Splintered Souls. It's from the same people who brought us Level Up 5e, so it's probably decent. I've got mixed feelings about mega dungeons. I love mega dungeons. I don't know if they work. And people say, oh, we went through mega dungeons all the time when we were younger, and they were great. It's like, I don't remember that. I don't remember any of the few mega dungeons I went through as a kid or playing younger actually working, because it just becomes a slog. Room, monster. And I played through a year-long Borrow Maze campaign, and it was boring. Blah, blah. So that's it. There's some new games coming out. We've got the Pathfinder 2 2nd edition remastered core rulebook starting to float around for reviews. We've got people talking about the Dungeons & Dragons lore and legends art book and history text that just came out. And I did want to mention that one. So there's a lot of people talking about the Dungeons & Dragons lores and legend book now as if it just came out. That's been out for a while, guys. It's been out for almost a year, if not longer. But I know I have seen ads for it on Kindle for at least a year. So talking about it now as if it's a big surprise. Oh, look what they put out. It's like, no, it's been out for a while. Did you guys just run out of things to review? And let's see, the most interesting responses to this canon official D&D hardback lore book is there's no stats in it. It's all lore and art. There's no stats in it. It's all lore and arts. It's a tabletop coffee table book of art and lore about 5th edition, and there's no stats in it. Apparently, 5e fans are upset about that. Paizo announced a partnership with Natural Pengu because they want to do their own live play in an attempt to copy Critical Role. Blizzard announced the upcoming tabletop role-playing game version of Diablo, but it's based upon Diablo 4. And as I've already said, as much as I love Diablo, I think it's too late. It's far, far too late to release a Diablo role-playing game, and then especially base it upon Diablo 4. Free League has announced that they're doing an Electric State role-playing game. This is the 3rd role-playing game based upon the work of Simon Stogg. You know I love Simon Stogg stuff, so I'm a huge fan of that. And that's about it. That's about it for the non-Wizards of the Coast news. Okay? So there you go. It's everything that's going on that isn't related to tabletop D&D news. Now moving on to a utter lack of news story, and that is Mrs Pheonix and her Battle of the Bards tabletop role-playing game scenario is now 2 years into the Kickstarter. There has been no updates from over than a year. People are not getting their money back. People are upset that they're not getting their money back. We still know that there are people that worked on the product that never got paid. So with 2 years and not even a beta available, once again, the rounds are like pointing fingers at Mrs Pheonix going, hey, we haven't seen you naked in a year, so do something with your role-playing game. So that's a story. Tanker over at Tanker's Tavern talks about it a little bit. So if you want to hear more of the story, there's a link down below. But yeah, that's apparently news. Okay. Warning, I'm now going to talk about Wizards of the Coast. So if you don't want to hear me talk about Wizards of the Coast, probably stop listening now. So remember when Wizards of the Coast said, hey, don't worry, Adventures League, your stuff's going to be fine through February of 2024. And remember when they said, don't worry, guys, we're going to keep everything going in 2024, system, world agnostic, and it's not going to affect the overall play. And then Jeremy Crawford came out and said, oh, no. Everything's about Planescape going forward. It's always been about Planescape. In fact, Dungeons & Dragons has always been about Planescape since 2014, because we know in Jeremy Crawford's mind, the only math and dates that exist are what's directly in front of him. So if he looks at something that was produced yesterday, in his brain, it came out in 2014, has always been canon, even though there is no canon, because nothing in D&D existed before 2014. Somebody needs to do a deep, deep dive into Jeremy Crawford's perception of reality. Guess what? The new document for official sanctioned play and for D&D design going forward, if you want to design adventures for 5th edition that are going to be officially published by the D&D Adventures League or officially published on D&D Beyond, is now all about Planescape. Everything's coming up Planescape. So when they said, hey, don't worry, you're fine till at least February of 2024, they lied. So start rewriting all your official D&D adventures if you want to get them published for the Adventures League to be Planescape centric, and Planescape is now the official setting. Planescape Adventures must focus primarily on the Planescape setting, and measures must start with the code PS5. They're still going to do Forgotten Realms stuff, but it's going to not be as much. So anything that's Forgotten Realm adjacent currently will end with its final thing. And then that'll, once those are all done and run through and all those scenarios are cataloged, that's probably going to be it for Adventures League Forgotten Realms centric going forward, which begs the question, what is the fate of the Forgotten Realms in 2024 D&D? Will it be any connection or not? If Planescape is going to be now the new official starting campaign section, as it supposedly always was supposed to be. No, it's always been Planescape. I've always been working that it was Planescape since 2014. What about all those books set in the Forgotten Realms? I never wrote those. It's always been Planescape. In 2024 through 2027, D&D is going to just be Planescape. Well, what about all the other things that have no connection to Planescape, like Ravenloft? We never wrote those. I don't know what you're talking about. What's Ravenloft? Those are covered in that other book. Oh, you mean the one on the DM's Guild that totally makes the Planescape books pointless? Yeah, those. Okay, so there we go. There's that for the DM's Guild. So yeah, what a surprise that Wizards lied, or at least changed their. Wizards doesn't lie. Wizards changes their perception of what happened. So it's not a lie, because according to Jeremy Crawford, it's always been that way. I erased reality and rewrote it. It's always been that way. But I remember it differently. You're obviously wrong. That's not what happened. So Jeremy is like the Marvel villain, the guy who erases reality and rewrites it. Jeremy Crawford is Spider-Man No Way Home, where, everybody's supposed to forget who Peter Parker is, except everybody still remembers who Peter Parker in this version. Jeremy Crawford just thinks nobody remembers it. So I think that is how to explain Crawford's view of the world. He thinks these things actually happened, and he thinks that other people believe him. Okay. You done? Ready? All right, take a breath. I've presented you with the appetizer. We've had a couple seconds to sip the coffee and take a look at the dessert menu. Now it's time for the main course, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. The Hasbro Q3 numbers are out. In fact, they've been out for a while, but for reasons I can't understand, Hasbro chose not to publish them directly. They've been out since the end of October. In fact, just for reasons, they've been hiding them on the investors page. Now, since I don't have Hasbro stock anymore, because I sold all my stock off, except for that 50 cents I still have, I don't really get the direct links to this anymore. So I found out through a mutual friend of ours, Dungeons and Discourse. So yeah, these have been up for a while, guys. But for some reason, Hasbro hasn't posted them. So here are the Q3 numbers, and the first thing you're going to notice, and the one thing everybody who's pro Hasbro, pro Wizards of the Coast is going to say is Q3 numbers. Hasbro declined 10%, but had significant growth Wizards of the Coast plus 40%, but it was not able to offset the decline of consumer products by negative 18% and negative 42%. So negative 60% from where it was last year, and negative 40% from where it was last quarter. But it saw a 40% growth. So people are going to tell you, well, it means Wizards of the Coast is doing fine, because Wizards of the Coast saw a 40% growth from this point last year. What they're not going to tell you, what I'm going to tell you, is Wizards of the Coast saw 40% growth digital. So that's 40% growth digital. That means all D&D Beyond, Magic the Gathering Arena, and Baldur's Gate 3. Because even though Baldur's Gate 3 was not made by Wizards of the Coast, Wizards of the Coast is claiming that money is theirs. Which really, as we know, all Wizards of the Coast did was sell the rights to the other company. And the popularity of Baldur's Gate 3 is totally because of the amount of work Luminaire and the Baldur's Gate 3 people did, and nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast. Because, well, Baldur's Gate 3 is as successful as it is, Wizards of the Coast is choosing to ignore the controversy associated with Baldur's Gate 3 and take credit and say that money is part of the 40%. So Wizards of the Coast is up 40%. Still less than what they made last year, but still up 40% as opposed to everything else. But that's digital. That's digital. I'm sorry. I know there's still like one person out there who disbelieves that this is all about digital, and Hasbro is focusing on taking Dungeons and Dragons digital, and the future of Dungeons and Dragons is branding and digital. But that's making them more money. So of course they're going to continue to focus on that. And any naysayers who say no, they're going to go, no, look, we made more money digital than we did any other aspect of Dungeons and Dragons. So digital D&D and digital Magic the Gathering and digital Baldur's Gate 3 and whatever other digital things they have their little fingers in made more money than anything else in Wizards of the Coast. Not Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sorry, Scott. Moving on. Wizards of the Coast. Revenue growth driven by the successes licensed digital games Baldur's Gate 3 and Monopoly Go, which drove $63 million in incremental revenue Q3. Monopoly Go, no longer under the control of Wizards of the Coast, but again, I guess they're saying, hey, no, that was Wizards of the Coast money because we still had it when it went live. So that counts, right? Consumer product revenue declines. Operating profit loss of $169.5 million. Adjusted operating profits is $342.6 million. So they lost $169.5 million this year from where they were last year. Adjusted results don't include tax. On track to deliver approximately $200 million of the gross savings of the 223 money. So they're about breaking even. Reduced owner inventory 27%, including 34% decline in consumer product inventory, i.e. physical products not selling. All right, here we go. Third quarter and year-to-date financial revenue. Q3 2023, they made $1,503.4. Q3, they made $1,675.9. Less money this year than last year with a $169.5 million loss. They are down once again 100%. Wizards of the Coast Hasbro stock is currently at $44 a share. That is unheard of. Yes, everybody is suffering, but Wizards of the Hasbro is suffering a lot. And sure, we could blame a lot of that on the mishandling of Dungeons & Dragons. But they've also mishandled their two other largest franchises, Transformers and Power Rangers. They dropped the ball on that. Again, at the end of the year, it looks like the only thing that's actually successful for Hasbro is the areas they're strong in. And Peppa. Thank God for Peppa, because otherwise Hasbro, D&D, you'd probably, yeah. Thank your lucky stars, D&D people, that Peppa still brings in the big bucks. Blah. Adjusted operating profit Q3, 342. 2023, Q3, 222, 270.5. So yes, again, another lot. So we saw an increase in adjusted operating profit, which means more, Net earning loss, $171.1 million. Net earning loss per share, 1.23. Yeah, I know that. Thank God I sold my shares when I did. Adjusted net earnings, 227.8. Adjusted net earnings per diluted share, 1.64. Numbers. Stuff that I don't understand. Wizards of the Coast digital made more money this year than last year. Wizards of the Coast physical made less money this year than last year. Let's see. Yep. Digital made more money this year than last year. Physical, less money than last year. Revenue decrease of 18%. Adjusted operating profit margin of 11.2%, which declined 1.4 margin. Revenue increase of 40%, driven by digital and licensed gaming. 100% of the revenue increase is Baldur's Gate 3 and Monopoly Go and D&D Arena and Magic the Gathering Arena and digital downloads from D&D Beyond. All their money is showing them that you people want to go digital. So why wouldn't they take more stuff digital? Because it's 90% profit. Digital is profit. How much work do I have to do to create a digital product and put it online for you guys to buy? None. Right? Type it up, edit it, digitally upload it, done. What's that, like, a year worth of work? But in production values, what's the production value of a digital product? How much do I have to pay Steve, the copy guy, to upload that one time and then occasionally check it to make sure there's no mistakes? Nothing. Pennies, right? $200,000 a year, whatever Steve's salary is, as opposed to the hundreds of millions of dollars I have to pay every year to get one physical book printed out on the shelves from wherever it is Wizards of the Coast is printing their product now. Pay for shipping, pay for distribution, pay for storage, pay to have it shipped to Target, pay for the shelf space and Target, and then lose money week after week when that physical copy on the shelf at Target doesn't sell. Meanwhile, I'm still renting that space from Target. That is all financial loss, as opposed to digital, which is 100% financial gain. I'm sorry, guys. You can argue with me all you want, but it's just good business at this point in time in the economy to do digital marketing and digital branding. Everybody's going to do it. It's just Wizards of the Coast is doing it wrong. You know, if Wizards of the Coast handled this like a mature adult company, i.e., every other company on the planet that's doing this, I'd have nothing to talk about. We wouldn't be so angry at them. But Wizards of the Coast cannot do anything right. So that is why we're going to see these stories about people saying, oh, Wizards of the Coast spent 40% more money this year. So screw you, OGGM, with your grumpy grump. Yes, Scott, I know you're still farming my content. And because you're wrong, because look, they made a profit. What those people are going to ignore, what all the D&D shills are going to ignore, is that profit was digital. Physical lost money, digital made money. And where is the rest of the money coming from? Blah, 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 blah. Magic the Gathering, 18% increase in Magic the Gathering sales. Now, people are going to again say, though, oh no, Wizards of the Coast had an 18% increase in sales. No, Wizards of the Coast Magic the Gathering had an 18% sales. And you know what those were? Those were the Lord of the Rings and all the other crossover sets. The actual Magic the Gathering stuff, not doing so well. But the crossover stuff, the Jurassic Park, the Lord of the Rings, the Doctor Who, the G.I. Joe, the Subway. I don't know. I don't keep track. I assume they've done crossover promotions with everybody except for maybe Disney. That's where the Magic the Gathering money is. It's not that necessarily people want to play the game. They just want to see the cards and the art and the cool stuff, you know? I mean, I don't know how many of those cards from the Magic the Gathering Middle Earth actually get to see play, or the Jurassic Park, but I know they're selling. And I'm going to guess a lot of that is just casual, is tourists, Magic the Gathering tourists, who just think a Magic the Gathering card that has a Tyrannosaurus Rex on it is cool, and maybe they'll use it in their green-red deck. But I think they're just buying it more because of the recognition. Are they buying it because it's a Magic the Gathering deck? Or are they buying it because it's the Magic the Gathering Lord of the Rings? And, you know, since they don't list playability, I can't say for sure, but I'm gonna guess it's because of the licenses they chose. But yeah, operating profit 99%, 48% less from last year. Blah blah blah. Franchise brands made them the most money. Partner brands, the next most money. Portfolio brands, the next most. And finally, non-Hasbro branded films and TV made them 93. So things that got Hasbro mentioned in them, but they didn't really have anything involved in, made them 93.9. Portfolio brands made them 170.3. Partner brands like Nerf, 228. Power Rangers, 228. Power Rangers took a huge loss this year. And franchise brands, Peppa, yeah. Digital, again, digital. They want you to know that all that was digital. That is digital. Look at this, digital. Look how much money digital made us this year. Partner brands down 35%, negative 35%. Would that have been the total how you screwed over Power Rangers and Transformers? Portfolio brands, I don't know. Furby is apparently made them some money this year. It's now among the top toy lists and awards for the holiday season. There's something I'd never thought I'd see. 287.4 million Magic the Gathering. Everything else from Hasbro, 628.4.0. 40% of that being digital. So I don't know. I'm gonna guess that's, if you're thinking Dungeons and Dragons 2023 made them the most money this year, you are wrong. The company is still in debt of 2.0. But business, numbers, business, numbers, stuff we don't care about. If I made you guys bored yet? No, 4 of you are still watching. So where does that leave us? in regards to Hasbro Q3 numbers. They haven't done the product pie chart yet, but I'm going to guess it's Peppa is probably number 1. Nerf, probably number 2. Board games, probably number 3, especially now that Wizards of the Coast isn't in charge of board games. There's some weird monopolies. But I mean, you could take the Monopoly and brand anything on it. You could brand me as a Monopoly brand if you wanted to. I don't think they would, but you could. Somebody make OGGM Monopoly, please. I landed on sandwich. I guess that's double points there, Steve. Digital is going to be a huge chunk of that money. Power Rangers, Transformers, and then physical Magic the Gathering and physical D&D. And I know the D&D 5e fans are going to say, no, D&D physical is at the top of the list. But no, it's not. D&D physical is at the bottom of the list. Magic makes them more money than D&D physical. Wizards of the Coast Digital made them more money than D&D physical. And then Hasbro as a whole, it's the toys that are still making the most money in the toy license, though not as much as it was because there's really no good licenses to link toys to right now. Star Wars toys aren't moving. Power Ranger toys aren't moving. Transformer toys aren't moving. Action figures aren't really moving right now because there's not really a major franchise to attach action figure sales to, as opposed to when we were kids, where, we had a new action figure adjacent TV show every week. We don't have that anymore. So you can't make the rush of really cheap action figures associated with, Lion King or whatever now. So the only licenses they have for action figures, 2 of which they totally dropped the ball on. Totally dropped the ball. That 10-episode Power Rangers finals series, Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. What a joke. And people are like, oh, they did such a good job with this. No, they didn't. It was a horrible nostalgia series. They're literally the last season of Beast Morphers was a better nostalgia series than the 10-episode final of Power Rangers. So okay. But that's my own personal cross, and I'm not going to waste your time with that. So that's the news. Hasbro, congratulations, 40% profit. Digital. Remember, that's digital profit. Anybody who says otherwise, nope, sorry. Anybody who's still going to try and promote the myth that Hasbro is going to maintain the same level of physical product in 2024 that they've been doing, again, no, not for D&D. There will still be physical product, absolutely. But I have a feeling some of those are going to be mysteriously delayed, like the physical cards for the Deck of Many thing. Oh, production. Oops. But you can still buy the digital, guys. That's available now. Anyways, that's it for the news. I'm getting a headache because the weather is changing, so I will leave you there to percolate on that. What do y'all think? Why do you pander to Wizards of the Coast so much, OGGM? Because they make the news. I mean, you didn't think I was going to point out the Q3 numbers or the fact that Hasbro hid them? Till next time, I'm the OGGM. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 2,000 subs by the end of the year, and we'll do something crazy. Like, I don't know, call Aaron the Pendentic on the phone or something. Have a great holiday week. I'll be back later. Till then, see ya.